Afternoon. How's everybody doing? The rooster's happy. I'll just wait for a few minutes for people to jump in here. And I'm trying to listen, diversify my music tastes. And I'm kind of listening to some techno, but it's like the same thing I felt years ago when I first heard it, hanging out with younger friends. And no, it just doesn't do it for me. I'm sorry. It's redundant. It goes on, and it says nothing. In any case, I'm changing the music selection. I'm going back to funky soul. I'll wait until I see a few. Here we go. Takes a while to hit these days. But nice to see you. Say hello when you arrive, would you? In any case, I was talking about how I tried to diversify my music tastes. Trying to listen to techno, but it bores the shit out of me. So we're back to funky soul. Earth, Wind, and Fire. Temptations. Marvin Gaye. Al Green. Hi there, Gisela. How are you? You're the only one I can see so far. Christy, nice to see you. Yeah, well, here we are in Mexico, and right this very moment, we have truckers in Canada convoying across the country. And I wanted to share with you, now a lot of you understand where I stand on this, and I believe they are fashioning a box for these men driving across the country. Virtually a coffin, actually, on freedom. And that is what is in construction right this very moment. So I want to share some of the PR that I'm coming across. Now, this morning, somebody shared with me a man, a white man. He was kind of angry. It was on TikTok, and I shared it on Telegram. And he was angry, justifiably so, because the media has been denigrating them to the angry white man narrative. And the man, visibly frustrated, was like, this isn't, like they're trying to corner them into the corner of a domestic terrorist. And he was going around with his hammer going, does this look like that? And went further and said, if any of the media even comes near me, I won't let them interview me. And he was angry, and he was fitting that narrative perfectly, the one that they're creating. But I have to say, I completely relate to him, because when I was doing protests in Regina, the very same, they came in to crush us. And throwing the racist narrative at me, which is absolutely ridiculous. But these are the types of things that are done in order to create the picture, the narrative the government is looking for. And I'm going to take you through where that's at right now, because I have been saying since the beginning of this is how they are going to corner these men who have taken their time to go across the country, and many of them with very good intentions. But I'm saying that the ones behind this don't have the best of intentions, and it's infiltrated, okay? And I'm going to show you why, because what's happening now is National Post, this is January 23rd, so let's just go through the days here. Canadian Trucking Alliance condemns protests by unvaccinated drivers. So the first thing they do is they go in and they get the association, right? Now, a Canadian Federation of Provincial Trucking Groups is speaking out against planned protests by unvaccinated drivers opposed to a vaccine mandate for cross-border travel. The Canadian Trucking Alliance issued a statement on Saturday saying it does not support and strongly disapproves of protests staged on public roads, highways, and bridges. Now let's look beyond that. That is essential infrastructure, okay? Keep that in the back of your head. Alliance President Stephen Lakowski says because both Canada and United States have cross-border V rules in place, truckers must adapt and comply. A website run by protest organizers says convoys of demonstrators are slated to hit the road from British Columbia today, while similar groups from across the country are expected to convene in Ottawa for a mass protest on January 29th. The group has raised over $2.3 million in donations, which will go to the cost of fuel, food, and accommodations for participating protesters, according to the GoFundMe page. Now, I'll guarantee you all that money didn't come from GoFundMe. Straight up, okay? The Liberal government announced in November that all Canadian truckers looking to cross the border from the United States would have to be V'd in order to avoid a 14-day quarantine, a policy that came into effect on January 15th. Now, just last night, it came out that 90% of truck drivers are V'd. That's what was said. And that came out in an article about Trudeau, talking about the fact that most of them are. So what's happening here is they're literally skewing the truth, the narrative, okay, about this being all about this, and, well, making it inconsequential, particularly with that number of 90%. Now, what's interesting about this protest that I think we should all note is, well, like guys, years ago, 10 years ago, more than that actually, getting on 15, 20, I was driving across the country with my brand. And I was on the road, like a lot. Like I drove from Saskatchewan, I did loops to Ontario and down and around. And I did that, filling up my vehicle and opening the country, right? With all those hours on the road all by myself, I mean, I noticed the truck drivers. And, well, even back then, they were largely Pakistani drivers, Indian drivers, a lot, right? And I'm asking, where are those guys? Because right now, you need to break the angry white man narrative. It's imperative that that is done right now. And we need to see some of those guys because they are actually representative of the truckers in this country. They are. A great deal of them. And I know this as well because even, I think it was around 2014, I did an audit for an independent market research company where I had to go stand at Husky and I had to interview truckers for 4 days, sorry. It was all about them having a new restaurant or getting rid of the Husky restaurants. That was what I saw as the goal. And I stood there and interviewed these men. And I'd say there was a pretty good portion that were Indian and Pakistani descent, representing a lot of truckers. They're basically blowing up the V narrative. Okay, that's what's happening. Now let's move on. This is the first published on the 25th. And then the next on the 26th. This is by CTV News. So many angry people, experts say online conversation about trucker convoy veering into dangerous territory. Remember, domestic terrorists, okay? As a growing group of truckers and supporters make their way to Ottawa in a protest against V mandates, experts say the rhetoric online concerning the convoy is getting increasingly worrisome. The group of truckers and concerned citizens began a cross-country trip to Ottawa over the weekend in a protest of V mandates in the country. The groups expect to arrive in Ottawa this Saturday. The movement has since gathered steam nationwide as videos show highway gatherings in support of the truckers, but some experts worry that the online conversation surrounding the convoy has veered into dangerous territory. There are people who genuinely believe that this is overreach by the federal government, but there is also a lot of other groups that are involved, and individuals who are involved have a long history of overheated rhetoric. Kurt Phillips, founder and former lead writer for Anti-Racist Canada, told CTV News in a recent phone interview. Organizers for the convoy insist they are abiding by the laws and intend for a peaceful rally in Ottawa this weekend. Even though the organizers say it will be peaceful, Phillips says he's seen people online calling the truckers' convoy Canada's version of the U.S. Capitol insurrection on January 6, 2021. And there you have it, domestic terrorists. Okay? For the truckers to ram their truck. Okay, so let's read that again. Even though the organizers say it will be peaceful, Phillips said that he's seen people online calling the trucker convoy Canada's version of the U.S. Capitol insurrection on January 6, 2021. For the truckers to ram their trucks into Parliament, and people encouraging the hanging of politicians. Okay, so you know there's a setup coming on this. You got to know this. And anyone involved, like, your security has to be like so tight, because we know how this rolls and we've seen it before. I mean, they saw it, what was that, 10, 12, 14 years ago? It was an Aboriginal band in Quebec. Oh gosh, why is that evading me? I know it. But at the end of the day, of course, all this violence erupted, and then somebody got shots, and it was like military issue boots. RCMP, I think it was, actually, not military. So it was interesting. And this is what they are setting up for this. Now, I'm pretty involved, and I know, Carl, you're involved, right? Like, there's a lot of people here that are watching what's going on. And, well, you need to... I haven't seen any rhetoric like that, have you? Because all I'm getting this from a bunch of enthusiastic Canadians, and honestly, largely women that are sending. Now, I know I'm Debbie Downer about the truck convoy. I am, because I know it's a setup from right from the beginning. So excuse me for trying to protect those participants from the allocation of domestic terrorists, okay? Because that's all I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer here. I'm trying to, honestly, protect the integrity of the movement. Because you're walking straight into a trap here. And somebody needs to get out and do some damn PR. And it can't be an angry white man. You need to change your tactics, okay? Straight up. And you know what? If you are already going to be classified as a DM, let's say, sorry, a DT, okay, because we're just going to call it that from now on, not to tag my videos, but if you're going to be classified, then why don't you bring up the big dogs? And that is, this is a convoy against UN Agenda 2030. And actually name what all of this is about. Because it's that global agreement and global governance that is literally, this is why they have it all set up for you to be called a DT. We're not dealing with Canada, kids. We're dealing with the global government. That's what's happening. And that is being put together by the UN, period. It is. Because they don't come in just to, you know, piss around. They go in for the kill. And I know it because I experienced it in Saskatchewan. So I know these men and women driving across the country. I don't even know how many women there are, but if you've got women in there, get them to the front lines. Get them on your social media. Get them on your Facebook page. We need to see them. Or you're playing right into this, and I'm asking you why you would be doing that if you are legit and authentic. So right now, this is my challenge. Show yourselves, my friends. And again, take care of this. You see, this is why I stopped dealing with the freedom movement in Saskatchewan, because they left me hanging to deal with this shit. They walked in like handing the mic to a known racist. And then they didn't have any groups, right? I did. So they came after me. And here I was covering for these morons, allowing for the setup. It's crazy. But You guys, I mean, like, think of it as a spy novel. How many movies have you watched? Well, you're in one now. So, like, everybody needs to jump it up. And instead of following the leader, look further into it. And when you see shit going down like this, you know what? All those fingers, stop bitching and complaining and get to PR work. Because that's what's required right now. Or this is going to be the setup that kills freedom forever in Canada. Because once that classification and that association to the Capitol riots is made, we're fucked. Absolutely. Straight up. Now, here we go. Even though the organizers say it will be peaceful, Philip said he saw people online comparing it to the trucker convoy, Canada's version of the U.S. Capitol insurrection on January 26, and for the truckers to ram their trucks into Parliament and people encouraging the hanging of politicians. Some of the organizers are trying to get people to dial back the rhetoric, but the genie's already out of the bottle, he said. People are energized in an incredible way right now, and it's hard to see something not happening. I don't know if it would be on the scale of January 6th in the United States, but there are so many angry people. Now, remember, also, the insurrection, that's how they were legitimately allowed to, like, cordon off the White House for the first time in history, right? Put a fence around. Bring in the National Guard to make sure that power was not going to be disrupted. That's what they did. Now, if that was to happen, and this is what I am actually predicting, they're going to pull the War Measures Act card. Trudeau's daddy did it back with the FLQ crisis. And if they can get somebody to ram a truck or grab a politician or put the fear of God into them, they can pull that card. And when they do that, it's bad news, my friends, because then we're under a military dictatorship in Canada. It changes the whole ball of wax. So honestly, organizers of this truck convoy, if you are authentic and legitimate, you better have some really damn good security and get on the PR frontier. Because, again, I'm not seeing any of this rhetoric, and I would like to hear from the rest of you. Are you seeing any rhetoric? I haven't seen anything like that. And honestly, people send me a lot of stuff. So we know it's a lie. All contrived right before our very eyes to add to the show. Now, here's the next one. Today, drivers, okay, here's the headline. Drivers warned of significant traffic delays on highway as trucker convoy enters Ontario. So basically, positioning all of you to be a pain in the ass. An imposition on society. The drivers are being warned to expect significant traffic delays on major highways from Thursday to Saturday as the Freedom Convoy of truckers enters Ontario. The Ontario Provincial Police said delays are expected on the QEW, Highway 400, Highway 426, Highway 403, Highway 401 over the next few days. Okay, thus encouraging most people who are in that region not to go to Ottawa. So read behind the lines here. Between the lines, sorry. The group of truckers began a cross-country trip in British Columbia on the weekend and are headed to Ottawa. They are protesting mandates that require truck drivers crossing the Canada-US border to be V'd. Be aware that there could be significant traffic delays through provincial highways, OPP Sergeant Kerry Schmidt said on Wednesday. If you're a motorist, plan ahead and expect delays. Schmidt said the group of truckers have the right to peacefully protest, but police will keep a close eye to ensure drivers remain safe. Some supporters of the convoy, including the Conservative MPs, have taken to social media to warn vaccine mandate for truckers will leave store shelves empty. Some of them have gone so far as to predict Canadians will starve. Others, with more extreme far-right views, have latched on to the protest. One online video includes a man expressing hope The rally will turn into the Canadian equivalent of the January 6, 2021 riot at the U.S. Capitol by supporters of former President Donald Trump. Donald Trump Jr. took to social media Tuesday to endorse the Canadian truck convoy's fight against tyranny and urged Americans to follow suit. So now you can see what I've been saying. Now they're involving Trump. And again, making that association between the Capitol riots. This is not good, my friends. Absolutely not. And it's, again, treading into super dangerous territory and a reason to pull out that War Measures Act out of the back pocket. Because it's then when they can compel the entire Canadian population to get it against their will. Now, interestingly enough, I watched Scott Moe yesterday, shared it on Telegram. If you're not on there, please do, at Unmask the Fear. That's the place to be. Now, I mean, he kind of looked again like he had a gun in his head, telling everyone that he had tested positive after his booster shot and then had to self-isolate, and he was just back at work, and he was asymptomatic, and he didn't get as sick that he could have gotten sick with the virus. But also saying at the same time that it's not effective. And knowing that this is all about UN Agenda 2030, because that is what we have been reset to, the goals of this agreement. What we have to realize is that, this is not sustainable. And what's not sustainable is this, because it doesn't work for its stated purpose. Now, if they'd come out and said the stated purpose is to genetically modify the population, well, they'd be right on track with that. But they had to lie to us and tell us it was for, to offset these viruses and variants. And I'm saying, how is it sustainable at all to continue on with a program, the ridiculous testing, the continued testing, like which he's promoting, the rapid test at home, and again, keeping your head in the CV game, right, at all times. But that's not sustainable, and it's an absolute, and it's an expenditure that truly is not affordable, again, or sustainable to the state, particularly with people waiting and waiting to get in to see for a surgery, having their cancer treatments delayed. This is, again, not sustainable. Sustainability is everything right now. This is what we are being reset to, a new sustainable model. And this is your first indication that it's not sustainable at all. Number one, it's not sustainable, meaning instead of all of this costly stupidity, what you do is you teach people, and I think we've all learned this lesson with these isolations, is that if you're sick, you stay home. It's pretty simple. If you've got a runny nose, then okay, you don't go to school. It's a new way of looking at stuff. If you're coughing, you're coming down with something, well, again, do any of you encounter anyone out there coughing, hacking, sniffling, even under the muzzles? I don't. It's very rare to hear someone cough in public anymore, guys, and you know it. So at the end of the day, that is what is, if this was all about sustainability in an authentic sense, well, it would truly be sustainable, and that's money, time, and health. It's not acceptable in the workplace to be sick anymore. We've got the memo. Memo received. Loud and clear. And you know what? Like, I was one of those bitchy people that if I saw people snotting even as early as 2015, I would go up to them in the store and tell them to go home and quit spreading their viruses. Because it's true. All that needed to be, if this was legitimately about a virus, then this is what we would have learned, and we have, thank you, we've learned it globally. I mean, I'm seeing it here in Mexico. You don't see or hear anyone sniffling or coughing in public. It's completely, well, it's not something anybody dares to do. They put the fear of God into all of us about it. So now it's not acceptable to do that in public, sort of like spitting on the ground, right? In any case, what we need here is, again, if this is about sustainability, and this is when you know it's not. The virus is Agenda 2030, and I've said that for quite some time, even got a video on it. It's the global agreement that we are being reset to, but it's more than that. It is a global government. It is a world led by AI. It's a chemicalized world. It's where they decide, if they want, that we have to take whatever they say. Now, interestingly enough, on Telegram today, and I'll talk about this a little more, they introduced the first robot doctors in China. And this is exactly what's going on. This is a swap out to precision medicine. Precision medicine, precision agriculture, all biotechnology, right? And this is what is going to be sustainable for humanity, or so the powers that be are intent on. Every aspect of life controlled. So you're not costing the state. The state can absolutely qualify how many resources are given to any particular person. And with your social credit score, if you continue to eat Doritos and need open heart surgery, well, you're not going to get it. Okay, so this is a refashioning of everything we know about this. And in a lot of ways, there are some good suggestions, but the days of being individual are over. And the whole idea here is actually making everyone, put it this way, when the cows go into the feedlot, they all get the jab, right? They zap them all. And that puts them all on a level playing field when they end up in the facility. They don't look at the cow and go, well, you look pretty healthy, and here's your records, and you've had a really good, a very healthy life. No, it doesn't matter. Everybody gets the same. And that's where we're going. This is what it is, and it's precision medicine. The value of all of those healthcare professionals losing their jobs, quitting, again, watched a special last night, New York Times special, and it was about how many nurses were quitting across the United States. And it was because, well, it's privately owned healthcare. But what's happening there is that, just like in Canada, they're absolutely overworked. And their whole reason for going into the profession, well, it's not the same as it was before, right? They're being abused. They're overworked. There's not enough staff to go around. And this is where all of these robotic beings will take over, for where humans can't cope. That's what it's all about. It's on. And again, 60% of the population. Por favor. Por favor. Sí. Yeah, I'm working, doing a video. In any case, it's scary times, guys, and sí. Una hora. Okay. Muchas gracias. I'll go out for my little walk after that. Can't do the distraction. In any case, this is what's going on, guys. This is what I see is coming down the pipeline. It's coming down very, very fast. Elon Musk already introducing a brain implant and getting close to opening up for volunteers. Something that you can, remember your memories with and then download it. So I'm wondering what that's all about. Like, why wouldn't we have our own memories? Talked to a friend yesterday, and she had the latest virus, and she's an organic and very, very adept to this terrain, and she described it as a chemicalized effect on her mouth, in which she still doesn't have her taste buds. And I've said before, a lot of this, guys, is about, well, because this virus was originally genetically modified, and we're dealing with genetic modifications thereof, we know that we are going to be switching diets. Meat is on its way out, the mass production of meat. And it's going to be necessary to alter our taste buds because, see, we've been accustomed to a lot of flavors. And I do believe that the value of that particular side effect is that. And again, this is an experimental period, right? But if you don't look at food the same way or it doesn't taste the same, your ideas of food are going to be different, right? And you'll be much more malleable to try new things. Textures are a big problem in all of this, and they're working real hard to, recreate chemicalized meat for us. So again, not meat like we've known in the past. They're rebranding it, and that is on, absolutely. My auntie, after a second dose, it activated dormant TB. Whoa, Dawn, wow. That's huge. I've never heard of dormant TB coming out again. But again, this is a crapshoot, and they don't know what it's going to do. Where are we there? This is a good point. Signs on trucks saying fight UN Agenda 2030 for freedom. Yeah, Beverly, that's exactly what they need. Because, again, they're already destroying that V. Apparently this is all about the V. But then we hear, and then the Canadians hear 90% of those truckers are beat. So, again, they need to rebrand this and make it good. And fight UN Agenda 2030 for freedom. And that is it for sure. Absolutely. I love it. I'm doing live news from Convoy all day long. All over folks doing news. Black Sheep Truth Media on Facebook. Yeah, Carl. Love it. Okay. Get some women in there. Get some men of a different origin than white in there. And try to make sure that they're not angry, okay? Because we don't want to just do news right now. We want to do PR. Think about this, because they've already got their PR out, and they're already predicting that it's going to be the same as the January 6th insurrection. They've already got the writing on the wall. So PR is absolutely what's required here. More than news. Why do women truckers have to be put on the front line? Can't they just become more visible on their own accord? Well, you know what? We don't have time for that, because we've got a planned coffin, insurrection coffin for freedom fighters. So, no, Phil. I mean, honestly, you think that somebody would see that? And that's when I know that there's forces behind this truckers convoy that are making sure, see, because I'm looking at all that they've put together, and that's pretty pro. So, and they have news media guy in there too, right? So I'd like to know, again, why they're putting forth the exact narrative that the news reporters are expecting, and then putting forth as well. You know, the thing is, guys, I mean, they're drawing out the angry white man. We have to fight fire with fire. You have to look ahead. And this is where it's sad. Where are we? I hear you, but I don't care about the angry white man narrative. This stuff goes way beyond race. I don't care that truck drivers are not trying to be difficult with you. Yeah, well, guess what? Welcome to the insurrection and your casket. Because you're actually opening your casket and sealing it because they've already set the table. I know you don't care, but guess what? All those Canadians, 70% of them that have all done this, they're being manipulated. And we're not dealing with an organic situation. I wish we were, but we're not. This is contrived right before your very eyes, and unless you get on the offensive and continue and not continue on the defensive, well, you're getting nowhere, because nothing is ever done in this world without the best PR. You're fighting against the best. You're fighting against a global government. Get your shit together. Really? Unbelievable. Anyway, this probably isn't your spot, buddy. Sorry. You know, I get a little bit pissy about all this. But again, I went through it in Saskatchewan. And they built the box. And the freedom fighters jumped in every single time. Fueling the fire. Literally fueling the fire. And it was intentional. And I got tired of taking the rap for them, covering their asses because they didn't deserve it, because they were literally working for the other side. So you know what? Prove to me that this convoy isn't 100% contrived. And I hope to hell on Saturday there are people ensuring that this cannot go down. Because at the end of the day, I know the freedom fighters, truly, this is not who they are. There's going to be forces interjected so that they seal the casket of freedom and have an excuse to pull that War Measures Act out of their back pocket. So the best thing is you have to be aware. You have to quit being led and think further. The PR that day needs to show that there's more than angry white men, because I know there is. I know, because in Saskatchewan, our movement, the freedom movement, started out 95% women until the interjected angry white men were thrown in. Before the scumbag would show up with his sacks in a gold lame G-string. That was the time we got 100 people at our protest. As soon as I built the numbers, they sent in the freaks. And the women would be like, oh my God, I can't be near this. Flat Earth, all of this shit. The sovereigns. And they're using you sovereigns to complete their little picture here. So just understand. Because if this is allowed to go down, do not be surprised when they start knocking on your doors, because they've got all your names on social media. I know that's... Even if you're a sovereign, you're not a radical. But they're going to draw out the radicals for you, and they're going to throw them in because they're the ones who pay them to go in. I mean, every country in the world, the covert operators are generally financed. Like a lot of times in Central America, it's the United States. When I was in Nicaragua, it was the U.S. funding the Contras, right? Now, I was there. Guess what happened to me one night? I was drinking in the bar, and a bunch of U.S. soldiers came in, and of course I was 19 at the time, and they told me they were building roads and bridges, and of course I knew it was a Contra base, and I said something like, that's a Contra base. And the next day I had 2 soldiers at my hotel intimidating me. So I know how this rolls. And again, we're crossing into dangerous territory. And going back to Scott Moe, the reason I was on that is because, like, again, he's pulling back. Yeah, he's pulling back because something bigger's going on, straight up. When they're the gauge, right? And Saskatchewan is quite removed from the rest of the situation in the country with one of the lowest populations. We're spread out across that province. and it's not washing. But I'll tell you, if you have time, I'll put the link here, because if you have time, go into that broadcast and watch Scott mow. Watch him, because he doesn't look very well. He looks off his game, and I believe there's something bigger at play here. And what's going to be bigger at play is them creating, while they're creating it right now, the casket of freedom and sealing it under the tagline, domestic terrorist. Don't let them do it, kids. If you see anyone acting out online like that, shut it down. And I'm telling you, because, honestly, if you see any of that, detach from that. Because you can't be associated, not coming up, especially if they pull the War Measures Act. I did a video a couple weeks ago all about that. And the last time it was pulled, and again, that was with Justin's daddy, FLQ crisis. Makes me want to dig into that crisis a whole lot more, because, well, as we're seeing, a lot of what we've been told and taught is wrong. So, in any case, watch your backs, watch the backs of your friends, and the big thing is we got to stop being angry. As I said the other day, we have to blow their perception that they're putting forth about us. You see, the thing is, a lot of people are reading this material and they've never gone near a freedom protest, so they don't realize that there's a lot of light and love there. They don't get it. They're listening to this and believing every drop. It's very sad, but it was absolutely predictable, and I couldn't believe when I came across that article, literally comparing it to the insurrection. So again, they're setting something up for this, and everyone needs to be absolutely vigilant and ensure it cannot go down. In any case, guys, have a wonderful day. I'll stick the links into the comments, and I'll be back in a couple of days. Have a good one.